hear him. And then September will be Jacob Cooper, who wrote a book also, and he had a near-death experience. In October, we have David Oakward. I forgot where he's from, but he also has written a book, and he had near-death experience. He's very involved in NDE groups as well. Now, November is Kathy Trueheart. She's a hospice nurse, and she also wrote a book, and I'm so eager to present her because she actually came here to walk my labyrinth and told me her story. She's a wonderful speaker. I really love her. And then, of course, in December, we will do the online no-calorie holiday party. And we'll have an open forum then. Unless people have questions, this is I'm done with my presentation. And Rhonda, it's your floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you, for allowing me to be here and share. I have shared my experience many different times on radio shows. I've written it, putting it in a book, and I do have everything, all of my information to make my book and prepare my book. It's not quite done yet, but it will be, and the time is always right when it's meant to be right, is how
Yeah.
I feel. Some of you probably understand that.
Oh, yeah.
I love what was written, Bethany, and all of you that put together the snapshot, if you will, of what happened to me, and that you emailed out to everyone. That I had an allergic reaction to a dose of chemotherapy while fighting stage 3 breast cancer in 2007, and the experiences that came from that. And what I'd like to do ever so briefly is go before that time just a little bit, because it makes a lot of sense as to what brought me to that point. And with my background, and it will kind of dovetail, it'll come together. So that did happen in October of 2007 to me. But prior to that, I had what many, and I've heard this oftentimes, of a really bad childhood, a not so good upbringing, bad experiences, mother being married 8 times, alcohol, drug abuse, you name. I was around it a lot. And as I got older, I believe that things happen to a child, not to their choosing, but to their circumstances and environments. What they see and witness, it alters them. I'll use a Dr. Phil, if you will. It alters who they are. It changes these precious souls of who they are in their life experiences. And so it did with me. And as I started growing, let me know if you still hear me or if you lost me. Do you still hear me? Okay. That I developed and actually was diagnosed with like a nervous disorder, a panic disorder, and then ultimately I had social anxiety disorder. That meant just going to a movie, just going out somewhere, I would panic. And so this is what my family life over time induced. And it wore me down. It made me tired. It was a struggle to try and be a woman in the world and start working and meeting a man in my life. But I was so exhausted and tired from having anxiety disorder. And I ultimately went to see someone, and she did say, you have anxiety disorder, and it's and specifically social anxiety disorder. And as I got older, and then I got married to my husband, who I believe is on this forum with us. Um, I was so sad that my own husband couldn't take me out on a date because I couldn't go to a movie theater. That's how bad it was. I was agoraphobic. I couldn't leave the home. I was just shut down. And so my energy was tired. Okay. And this is where this starts to lead in. Like, how does this have anything to do with having stage 3 breast cancer, right? I mean, how in the world does that lead up to that? Well, when you feel you have not been nurtured by your family, when you have that amount of anxiety, unhappiness in your life, I felt there was nothing to live for. There was nothing to really live for, to um, be present in this world for. So my anxiety worsened, and my husband hung in there and tried to get me therapy. But what really began to happen, you all, was fatigue, tiredness. I mean, tired. I would be waking up at midnight. I'd wake up at 1 in the morning. You probably even see that now through this COVID. I've watched this dynamic play out. People are up at all hours of the night, and but I had it because of what I was going through. I just could not sleep. It was high anxiety. So I stopped sleeping, and therefore my body was just getting tired. On top of it, my thoughts were negative, no joy, no happiness. And in actuality, I was willing myself to leave this earth. I had no family that loved me and that type of situation. So I thought, what's my purpose of being here? And so it was June of 2007. And even just prior to that, I had a dear friend who's an RN. Her name is Jackie, and her husband, who is from England, and he actually was one of the cops in England, worked on, can't remember the name, Scotland Yard. That was her husband. And they invited me to come out to London and take me. It's like, let's get her out of this funk. Let's get her into something that would be good for her. So during that spring and summer of 2007, I thought, I'm not working. My anxiety disorder is way off the charts. I mean, my husband said, go enjoy it. They thought that would help me emotionally. And what happened in June of 2007 is my husband's father died of a heart attack, literally on Father's Day. He died and passed away on Father's Day. And at that time, I was feeling something in my breast. I knew there was something there, and yet I just kept saying, it'll go away. I'm too young. I'm too young. I was, and my husband can correct me because sometimes I lose time. I was 42 years old. That's very young in the scheme of things. And so after my father-in-law died, I said, okay, I'll go in, and I got examined. I'm still exhausted. The doctors looked at me like, like almost like a sad puppy dog. You look very tired. You look run down. I said, yeah, I've stopped sleeping. High adrenaline, no sleep, and fatigued and worn down. And my doctor gave me a breast exam and asked for a mammogram immediately, and I did. And right after that is when the doctor said, this is highly suspicious. and we need to take care of this immediately. And I was by myself. My husband was at work. And I said, okay, suspicious. This doesn't sound good. I have a medical background. And I looked at that doctor who was the radiologist. And I said, well, I better buckle up because I got work to do. And for some reason, I had a little bit of a shift right then and there. I knew I needed to just get strong. And so I ran up to my husband's work after that and I said, this ain't good. So him losing his father in June, and this is now just after the 4th of July weekend in 2007, and then having the mammogram, and then towards Labor Day having a biopsy is what happened. And it was then that they said, you know, this is stage 3 and we need to get moving here. And I said, okay. And for surgery and all of that. And so I said, okay, so we knew we had to do surgery, right? It's like, let's get this out. It was on the right side. Let's get this out and just tell me the steps I need to do. Let's do it and let's move forward. And it was at that time I had an amazing, and I mean amazing assembled team of doctors. I mean, I truly was being watched over like angels. And I had a great internal medicine doctor. The surgeon who did my surgery was on Time magazine for his work and venture into for tumors and with the radio scopes and radiology type work that he did. And so after my surgery, he said, I said, you know, my friends Jackie and Dave out in England, she's a traveling nurse, wanted to know if I can go on a trip. And he says, oh, you're going because this is going to be spiritual. You're going to need that. I said, oh, I can go? Because I thought he was going to say no. Here I have stitches in my breast, right? You know, in fact, they had to go in twice, you all. They didn't clear the margins. They had to go in twice to clear my margins. So he says, oh no, you're going and you need this. Spirituality is so important. And I said, hey, okay. And he said, besides, you need about 2 weeks before you come back, before you start your chemotherapy. And I thought, okay, you know, I'm good with that. Tell me to go read the phone book and I'll go read the phone book. Okay, I'll do anything than to come back and have to do this. You just, so my friends and my husband, they got all my airline tickets all put together and I flew out to England. And I'm telling you, this is a part of the story because I had some major metaphysical and spiritual experiences. And this is before the near-death experience. So I got out there, not only were we in England, they were taking me to many sacred sites in Spain, I mean, in France. And I felt as if I had been at this location before. I felt like I had been there before, let's put it that way. And for what it's worth, I'm very much in touch with and had been reading about, because of my friend Jackie, again, I'd read the phone book. I don't care where they're taking me, what they're showing me, just as long as I don't have to come home and do chemotherapy and radiation. They took me to these sacred sites, and a lot of it had to do with the Da Vinci Code locations, okay? And I had metaphysical and mystical experiences at these locations. And I thought, wow, it's like, why does this seem familiar? Almost as if I weeped for this location, even though I've never been there. I weep to this day, I weep for these same locations. And I thought, wow, this is just phenomenal. And later, if you want to ask me the questions of what I experienced, that's totally fine. I'm open to all of it. And then we went to these locations. I experienced all this, and I remember one location called the Grotto, and all of a sudden I just kneeled down and I started crying. Well, I thought, well, after all, Rhonda, you're going through a lot of shock and trauma. You got stage 3 breast cancer. You're 42 years old. You're young, and I'm begging for my life at this little grotto location. And I knelt down and just kept saying this name, and saying this name. And my friend Jackie could hear me. She was standing behind me, and she's trying to make out, like, who is she talking to? What is it? But I was making a connection. And she said, Rhonda, she said, you may want to do an offering. And I said, I have nothing. I just looked around. I felt very vulnerable. I said, I don't have anything to offer. And she said, you're having a connection. And she said, why don't you offer your hair? You're going to lose your hair. So I pulled my hair and laid it on the altar for Mary and asked her to take care of me and comfort me through what I was about to go through. And then I stepped back from the grotto, and we went about our business and our locations, and went to our other sites. And before you know it, I was flying back, and this was in October of 2007, mind you, still not sleeping and traveling. And that traveling, for any of you who have traveled long distance flights, overseas flights, it's a long flight, jet lag, all that. I get back into the States, and I know it's no more than 2 days, and they have me now prepped for my first round of chemotherapy. Exhausted, hadn't slept in months. So that now this comes back in, really exhausted, tired, fatigued, months of not sleeping. I go in for my first dose of chemotherapy. They send me home, and I start to have this weird feeling. And this feeling was my heart is starting to race really fast. And I said, something's not right. And so I called my husband at work, and I said, you might want to run home real quick. And by the way, I lived in Chicago, downtown at the time. And so my husband and I lived in a high-rise apartment in downtown. And so he bolted home, and I said, and this is on a Friday. And by the way, I don't like going into hospitals on a Friday night. That's when everybody's leaving for the weekend. Just do not take me to a hospital. It's my medical background. Do not take me to a hospital on a Friday night. But at any rate, I said, I can't seem to get my heart rate to just kind of settle down. I didn't know which drug it was. And so I get to the hospital, and they admit me. Okay. And now they're starting to take blood. They're trying to figure out, what is this? They knew I had a round of chemotherapy, but what caused this heart rate to go into sinus tachycardia? And they didn't know. And they said, oh, Rhonda, did you happen to go on a trip somewhere? Or I said, yeah, I just came back from Europe. So they thought maybe I had a blood clot, right, from traveling overseas. So here I am now in all these different machines trying to determine if I had a blood clot. I'm exhausted, tears. I'm so tired. I mean, I can't even get tears to go down my eyes. I'm so exhausted. It's like I'm just beside myself and so tired. And I kept telling them that I'm so tired. And they said, it didn't look like I had a blood clot. And so they were perturbed, and like, wow, we can't figure out which drug. We've given her so much, from the chemo to the nausea stuff, right? What else do we give her? And so I slept. They monitored me. They admitted me into the intensive care unit. And through Saturday, they're like, okay, we're not quite sure. They kind of held off the medicine, that tried to give me nausea stuff, so I wasn't too nauseated. And I went to touch my hair, and I can already feel my hair falling out, right? So already, first dose, it was already doing that. And then it was Sunday morning, and I'm still just weak, and my heart rate remained up. They really could not get it below 100 at rest. That's the way I was. And so by Sunday morning, here comes the nurse. They're going around, and she's giving the medicine again, and they hand me something, and, you know, this is to help you. And well, sure enough, it was that medicine again, and I went into sinus tachycardia right then and there again. It climbed from 75, 85, 95, 100, 110, and I was watching it on the monitor on the wall. I don't know if you've been in the hospital where you still see the hospital monitor of your heart rate attached to the wall. And for some reason, this is key, you all, when I had the near death, because that's starting to happen. My husband's in the room, and I'm watching the heart rate go up. And I mean, it's like I'm on a treadmill going 200 miles an hour on a treadmill. And I'm screaming at the monitor, okay? Screaming at it, saying, stop, stop. And my husband's running up one side of the hallway in the intensive care trying to get the nurses. Well, they're coming down the other side. They're now coming down the other side with all the crash carts to get me. And they're making it down, and then he makes his way back in the room, and of course they're working on me at this point. And he's observing this, and I'm screaming. And the next thing I know, they get the doctor in there, and I see all these tubes come flying, and he says, let's start pushing this. And I was hearing those words, let's push this, let's push that, let's push this, grab me this, let me push that. All the nurses and everybody's around me, and I hear all the machines, I hear everything. And my husband, unfortunately, is watching this. And I know he felt, because he told me, if it's not the cancer that's going to kill my wife, it's this drug that's going to kill, it's going to take my wife right in front of me. And so the last thing I heard this doctor say, this cardiologist, he said, Rhonda, and he had already gone through 3 pushes to get my heart back into. And I'm still focusing on that machine across the wall. For some reason, it's got my focus. And he said, he leaned in, the doctor, the cardiologist, and he said, Rhonda, hold in there with me. Hang on, girl. You're going to feel weird. Those are his exact words. You are going to feel weird. And I thought I was still talking, but apparently I wasn't. I went out. He pushed whatever he pushed, and I went out. I went out of my body. And the first thing that I did is, because I was so hyper focused on that machine, that's what I went to first. And I still said I was talking, and my husband said at that point I wasn't moving or talking, okay? But I was telling the doctors off. I was saying not so kind words. They were curse words, but he says I wasn't talking. But I know I was cursing at them. And I know what I said. And so my eyes, I remember, this is so weird. It's like I got so close to that damn machine up on the wall that I was reading, you know, like the SKU numbers, like how it was made. You know, I could see the little numbers on the monitor of my heart rate. And so my face was so close, and I even said, this was later on, I said, Mike, why the hell would they push that monitor to my face like that? Why would anybody want to push something to my, he said, honey, that didn't happen. See, so what we think was happening wasn't happening. And thank God my husband, unfortunately or unfortunately, he saw all of that. And so the next thing I know, because that is what I would have felt as out of body for any other person, out of body, but that's not where it ended. The next thing that happened is it's as if I felt like the best way I can describe it was like somebody had a fishing hook in my back, because all of a sudden I went like this. I went away from that monitor, and it was as if I went out the door, but I didn't go out the door, but I ended up someplace else. And that someplace else was the most gorgeous, beautiful, serene place filled with love, comfort. My heart wasn't racing anymore. I can go back and remember that my heart was not racing anymore. I was not in pain, but I was in a very loving place, as if they knew me, but I didn't see anybody. I felt I'm a professional student, and the only way I can describe it is like, oh, I'm home with all my friends. But it felt like God's love, unconditional love that we don't understand here, in my opinion, on this earth. That unconditional, when people say, oh, I love you unconditionally, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, no, you really don't know what that is. And then I'm not being mean. There is something so beautiful and genuine about that love. And I believe that God gave me everything I needed, and my best description to you all of what happened to me there, where I was. And it wasn't the pearly gates either. But where I was so majestic and beautiful, gorgeous. I thought I saw like gold as I came. It felt like as if I came up from the ground, but yet I didn't. But I could just see this golden rays of light. And it was so loving. And I thought, okay, here I am. What is it, you know? And it's like God, I believe, was trying to give me, for a lack of better words, in short, a download of information. And this download truly was to get me back into my body and back home to heal myself. And over months of time, I've actually questioned myself. Was this information this is how I think because I'm a professional student. Got to think this way. Did God give me this, or is it something I've already had possessed within me? I've come to the conclusion we all have the answers, but that's taken me time to put that together. It's just that it was reawoken in me, and I believe we all have it. And what God gave me was so unbelievable and so powerful. I did bring it back. I did use it. It wasn't just like, I open up my books and it's like, here's chapter 1. This is what you go do. That's not how it was. It was a download for me to process and slowly really get. It took a long time for me to understand what that was, what that information was. And I can share with you 3 pieces of those information, and I have it down to these 3 words, although it means something very big and powerful, but I got it down into this understanding because it was going to help me heal myself from where I had been, and what I told you at the beginning of a difficult childhood is that Rhonda, attention, that's the first word, attention. Okay, God, what do you mean by attention? What are you giving your attention to? And when you do, how does it make you feel? Is it lowering your vibration? Is it not making you feel good? Does it make you feel sick? Does it lift you up? Does it make you rise up? That was the first word, but that's not how it was given to me. Maybe some of you understand that. It's complex. The second word was intention. And intention, I understood it to be, intention is, are your intentions of ego or from love? Because attention, intention equals vibration. It was as if God was giving me some kind of a beautiful model, a beautiful equation. It's the best way I can say it, but that's not exactly how it was given to me. But I've deduced it down to that. AIV, attention, intention, and vibration. And God wanted me to get my vibration back up. It was so low. It was a piece of gum stuck on the floor. That's how low I was. I was sick. I was sad. I let too many people do too many things to me in this life, and it was time to come back, and this is how it was going to be done. And so those were the most profound things of words that were given to me. And again, I had to use that. The other thing that God said to me there was, Rhonda, an understanding vibration. And I think this is why I like the toning, and you people that do the sound vibrational things, and the toning of the bowls, is that's part of the raising of the vibration. Is you will learn to do that. You will go do that, and you will raise up your vibration. And let me tell you, and this is how God said it to me, my child, whoever you believe to be God, do you realize reciting the Lord's Prayer is of the highest of vibration of all vibration? And once again, I'm like, God, you can tell me to read the phone book. I don't care what you tell me to read. I'll recite anything you want me to if it's going to make me better. And I did have that regard to God after that. I really did. I started having that open dialogue. You can tell me anything you want, and if it's going to make me better. But I began to see utilizing that attention, intention, and vibration really worked, and it works in a lot of people's lives. You can stand next to somebody and you know how their vibration makes you feel when you're with them. And you know if they're good for you or just having a bad day. And God wasn't trying to tell me who's right and wrong. It's truly what is going to really lower you and not bring you up and not heal you. You have to heal. You've been around such horrible, horrible, horrible things that you need to be back into something that's going to lift you up. Be mindful of it, noticeable of it. It's very powerful, and it makes me emotional to remember that moment of God giving me this, because I'll tell you, coming back and having a lot of that information, and I watched all my blood results and my exam results come back, and they were looking good each and every time because I was doing just that. with laughter, with joy, and lifting myself up, surrounding myself with good people. And they didn't think I was going to make it. So I did all of that. And it's to show that it can be done. I'm not saying it's right for everybody. It was what was given to me. And I do believe that for myself, that the mind is a very powerful, powerful tool. And God reminded me of the power that I had. We're not brought into this world with not having anything. We have everything we need. It's just being reminded, gently reminded, you have everything. And so, are there any questions on that?
Thank you, Rhonda. Do you feel that after that experience, when you came back with all that information, those special words that you use, do you feel that you things have become a lot clearer for you, where you get information
Yeah.
more so than you used to prior?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Can you
And
give
if
us
you
an
mean,
example?
uh, definitely with regards to, now I would say prior to the near-death experience, I considered myself a sensitive. I could feel things, but this is taking it to a much higher level. I use the clairsentient. I read energy. You could be talking, I can watch your mouth move, but I'm really not listening to your words. To me, it's a ticker tape. I'm reading energy, and I've been doing that ever since the near death. So it's taken that to a very, very heightened, and I don't know, I've heard some people call it a blessed curse. You know, I don't want to know what you think of me, quite frankly, but I do. But I do. And being a minister and doing what I do, I'm doing so much to harness that to where I can help people in my work, but it's not always fun. That's the truthfulness of it. It's not always fun to have that clairsentient ability.
I can relate to that.
Can you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. Does anyone else have any questions, comments?
I have a question. I'm looking to see if anyone has their hands up. I do have a question for Rhonda. I wonder, are there any, and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, your interaction with electrical objects?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if my husband is still on here. He
I'm
would
sitting here giggling about this one.
see. He probably knows which one I'm going to talk about, but he knows there's
Tell us about the
various
Fleetwood
ones.
Mac concert, my dear.
See? So, my husband, he's always known I'm not one he could buy watches for me for Christmas and that kind of thing. I've always had that problem, even before the near-death experience. But since the near-death experience, to me, it's just like quadrupled. It's amplified. And because of technology anymore, everything is electronic. Your cash register is electronic. You go and get your ticket and you're going to a concert and they take your ticket, put it in a machine. You're at the airport and they take your ticket and they put it in a machine. Well, I would say every single time, 90% of the time I go and it's like, oh, excuse me, ma'am, we are having a problem with our machine. No, you're having a problem with me. That's what it is. I need to go step away and let you figure out your machine here. But the Fleetwood Mac one was so hilarious because we were all excited running through the turnstiles. And there must have been, how many, Mike? 5 turnstiles or so, right straight
Yeah, there
across. We
was,
each had our
3,
ticket.
4, 5, just a bunch of them right there. And, it's a whole mass of people getting ready to walk through them. And
They
then
were
here comes
happy and
Rhonda.
excited. Here I come. I got my ticket and I'm ready to go in. And sure enough, it stopped all of them, not just mine. All of them.
All the
Stopped.
turnstiles, and each person running the turnstiles had a handheld computer that they would scan the tickets. All of those all went offline at the exact same time. They're all staring at each other, not knowing what the hell to do. And I don't want to take the story away, Rhonda. I mean, you finish this up,
No, you witnessed it.
but so I'm sitting there, I'm a software engineer and a computer nerd. So I'm looking at all these computers that go down all at once. They're all handheld. They shouldn't do that at once. There's no reason to. And about 15, 20 seconds into this, I look over at Rhonda, who's just excited to start getting through and hasn't really noticed that everybody stopped. And we're about, 3 people away. And I say, Rhonda, I think you're having an issue with, a little too amped up here. Can you try and settle down? And, it kind of dawns on her what I'm asking. And, I see her just kind of take a deep breath, and she does a little half turn and looks out the back window instead of the turnstiles. And it probably 5, 10 seconds later, everything just immediately kicks right back on. Everybody's, the turnstiles start to work again. The handheld computers start to scan tickets again. And all the guys watching or doing the scanning are just staring at each other like, this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And I mean, there's no way to prove this, but if you're around my wife, it's just a common occurrence.
Very good. Donna and then Elizabeth have their hands up. Donna?
Hi, Rhonda. I was wondering what happened when you did. First of all, did you want to return back to this world? And did you, what happened when you came to? And the third question is did you finish your chemo treatment, and did they find out what you were allergic to?
Yeah. To answer the last question, it was called Decadron. It was a drug that was for steroid, that was for the nausea that they put inside of the chemotherapy. So they did figure that out. And I'm like, and don't give that to me again. Thank you very much. So they did finally figure that out. As far as coming back, this is an interesting question, because people have asked me, do you feel you have the power or the right to say that you want to come back? I do believe I have choice to come back. I'm different probably from a lot of other people, but I feel we have choice to come back. And in this particular situation, it almost felt like so much was happening that I didn't know I was being pulled back into my body. It wasn't like, hey, Rhonda, do you want to go back? Let's have this conversation. It was happening. It was like, you're done. You're going back. And it wasn't like I was having the conversation. And I still use that analogy because I don't know what else to call it other than it felt like one of the strongest fishing poles ever that pulled me in. And I felt I went in, So I don't feel that, but I feel there's something much grander, and I'm here and I'm grateful for it. But I don't think I sat there and had this wonderful conversation with God. Hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to go back? No, whatever I was getting, it was like, oh, okay. It's like class is over, dismissed. We'll see you. Okay. So there was no angst, no, none of that. So, but good question. But I do believe we do have choice. That's just my opinion.
For
And
sure.
I'm just wondering if you told your husband certain things that happened, like while you were in there, that he can corroborate, that the doctors would say you had no, you could not have even seen those things before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shared some of that back and forth. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you do it, Mike, because you saw it. I wasn't cussing at the doctors, telling them the mean names.
Rhonda wanted to apologize to the doctors for screaming at them after that push of this, one that's going to make you feel weird. And I said, Rhonda, you basically, your eyes were open, but I thought you were not there, and essentially she had left her body. It's up to you to decide what exactly that means. But she was not communicative. Her eyes were moving, but there was nothing there. It was just a, complete blackout, if you want to call it that.
Wow. Thank you.
Rhonda, there's one other thing where you visited. You visited in 2007. You actually physically visited in 2010, if you wanted to mention that.
I have a picture of it. People wanted to know where I went. And what's interesting, I told you all that I went to France in 2007 before I had the surgery and the near-death experience. Now, what's interesting, this location was not the location that my friends took me to. But I went back there because I wanted to thank the divine for allowing me to live. I went on a pilgrimage in, what was that, Mike, 2010. And I ended up going to this place. If I can, I'll do a share. I'm going to show you the picture where I believe the divine took me. Now, then you're going to understand why I saw the golden lights. Oh, wait till you see this. And mind you, this is not where I was in 2007. And have you ever heard of Montségur in France?
Where the Cathars.
Yeah, where the Cathars lived and burnt. They walked down to this location or burnt at the stake. And I'm going to see if I can make it bigger. So we went through this share. I'm going to do a share entire screen. Let me know if this works, ladies, and that I don't lose you. And gentlemen, let me know if this comes up, and maybe I can put it in play mode. Can you see this?
Yep,
I sure
see
can.
it.
Can you see the beautiful light coming down off of that hill?
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
That's where God took me. I'm convinced of it 1,000,000%. I was not there in 2007. I didn't know of this place. It's when I went back in 2010. I said, something seems familiar here. For those of you who have had a near death, I don't know if you have these experiences like, hey, what you're saying or what you're doing, it's pinging. I call it pinging. It's pinging an experience inside of me. Like, why is this familiar? Why does this place make me feel like I've been here before? And the best way I can describe it, even though you see like this rainbow colors and it's a hill across from Montségur, and I mean, but in the evening you see like the golden light. I have other pictures. Let me bring this one up. Now this is up there in Montségur, and this is where the pagans were held up before they were burnt at the stake. Can you see this? Look
Not
at the
yet.
lighting. You can't see
Not
it
yet.
yet?
No.
I don't
Okay.
think you're sharing.
Yeah, let me do a share. This is the part, you all, that I can't. Let's see if this brings it up of the share.
Oh,
Can you see it?
yes.
Yes.
You see the people standing in here? This is like a 45-minute walk up to this castle called Montségur. And look at the light coming in. I don't know if you all can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Rhonda, just mentioning Montségur, I've never been to the place, but I feel this wave of energy come over me just saying the word. It's amazing.
So Rhonda, someone asked if you could spell the name of that mountain.
Yeah, Montségur. And when you look up the story of the the Cathars. It's Cathar country. The Cathars literally walked themselves down into the fire pit because they believed in the religion that they believed in, and they were burnt at the stake during that time. And I stood on the grounds. So I feel there's a connection for me. I had an emotional connection to this location. And so I believe for some reason God took me to this place, even though I wasn't there in 2007, never saw it, but I saw it in 2010, and I said, why does that mountain look familiar to me? What is this? And I had an overwhelming sense of tearfulness, and that I can't explain, and other than God or the divine was saying, I'm going to have you, you're going to live and you're going to know what this is all about. And that's their actual, what would you call that, Mike? That's their actual shrine, their steeple to the Cathars at this location in France, where they actually walked
obelisk,
down
I think
to.
it might be the name.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and here's me. Yeah, this one I do have a smile on my face. That's me with a PICC line in my arm and bald, going through chemotherapy. And I don't know if I can share another piece of information with you all. It just depends on how much time, or if you want to ask me
We have
questions.
time. We have two people that want to ask questions, but you can continue on, please, Rhonda.
Okay. Is there any particular questions before I share something else? My
Elizabeth, you were next, and then Joey.
No, I can wait. No, I would like to hear you first.
All right, Joe, how about you? You have a question?
Well, that's my son's name. He must be using my phone. I'm Dan. Did you ever go look and see, the color that you saw? Did you ever, try to find that color as close as you could to see if it was something you could describe, or the color gold?
The closest I got one time when I was out there. Now, I've been back to France in 2016. The best way I can describe it in what I saw, this was, by the way, on the fall equinox in the evening, we were out at that same site, and it's the sun going down, the golden sun. I didn't see that little rainbow, you know what I mean? The fractal light. It was truly a golden sunlight as it was coming down in the evening time. And not only could I see it, I could feel it standing there. I thought, wow. And when it hits out there, when the sun is going down, there's something about the fall equinox out in the south of France. And if any of you have been there, or if you ever choose to be there, when I tell people it will change you, I'm not just saying that. I'm not saying it will. There's a vibration out in that location that I float when I'm out there. I can't tell you what that is. It's like people saying they go to Arizona and Sedona. They have that energy. Well, I had it out in France. And so to answer your question about the golden light, I think I saw it in real time that one evening coming down. I said, oh, that's just a spectacular golden light coming down in the evening right onto the land as we were dancing and literally frolicking in this location and singing hallelujah on the fall equinox. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Rhonda, I'm also sensing as you spoke, I got the sensation that it was also you were in that area there in a past life.
Yeah, no doubt.
So Elizabeth, are you ready with your question?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Then you mentioned about vibration, and it happens then recently I was reading some information provided by, there was from the book Power versus Force, based on David Hawking's doctorate thesis. So I don't know if you hear. And then, whatever you mentioned, it's a wonderful, but he is providing us, the hearts. Like, for example, the virus vibrates of 5.5 hertz and died above 25.5 hertz. And but when we experience love or the good emotion, like loving, and we smiling and blessing and thanking and playing and painting and singing and dancing, meditate, yoga, tai chi, all the good stuff. We can increase our vibration even to 350 hertz. So I think this information are so important to everybody. But when we concentrate on when we fatigue and we have fear and nervous tension, rage, hate, jealousy, all this negative emotion, then we have very low vibration. And this is when we are getting all kinds of illnesses.
Right. I agree.
So I want to share this with everybody.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. It's like confirmation. Thank you very much for sharing that. In fact, that wasn't all that God was sharing with me, that got down to this little, I called it a download, and I had to, unlock it and figure out all the meanings to it. But another thing that God encouraged me to do was, I need you. And I think this was God's way of getting me back on track. And as silly as it sounded, it truly was the best thing, because what better things did I have to do? I had to sit at home going through chemotherapy. My hair was falling out. I couldn't go anywhere. So God got me into this. I want you to not only recite the Lord's Prayer all the time, because he said that is the highest of vibration of all prayers, okay? And then the second one was, I want you to go through the alphabet. And the alphabet was A for, some good vibrational word. B was for balance. C was for caring. In other words, God was trying to shift my mind, because I had come from such a negative childhood and lifestyle, and I had agoraphobia and anxiety disorder. And it's like, I'm trying to get you over here and back up. And if this is what I need to do to get you there, I'm going. And so I would just start reciting the alphabet and putting, all these different words. And I would do it literally when I was doing chemotherapy. I'd sit there and I'd come up with some letters and make these good words. But it was proving to be true. My doctors were like watching all of my blood exams and results coming back. Like, what are you doing? It's like, only if you knew, right? Reciting the alphabet with all these positive words, but do what works. And of course, the praying and the meditating and the mantras. And can I share the mantra that God gave me?
Oh, sure, yeah.
You're going to love this, you guys. You could write it down. This is truly beautiful. And I'm sharing it with all of my folks that I work with for cancer work. And this is the exact words that God gave me. My mind, body, and spirit are vibrating in the highest, healthiest, happiest, and most harmonious frequency, and so it is. I'll say it again. My mind, body, and spirit are vibrating in the highest, happiest, healthiest, and most harmonious frequency, and so it is. So much so that I put those on business cards and I've handed them out to, when I work at the Cancer Care Treatment Center and work with doctors and patients that are going through this.
Can you repeat it again, Rhonda, please?
Sure, I sure can.
And I'll
notice
go ahead
the
and copy it into the.
Yeah, and the notes. Notice the affirmative of it. It's not a maybe. That's what I love about this. It's so powerful. My mind, body, and spirit are vibrating in the highest, healthiest, happiest, and most harmonious frequency. And so it is. Now, this is the kind of stuff God gave me, and it's like, my gosh, that is really just truly amazing. And I've used it all. I've used it all, and for others. And what I love about that affirmation, or whatever you want to call it, is I recognize it's not saying, oh, someday I'm going to be better. Oh, no, it's stating it now. It's affirming it right now. You notice the difference of that?
The eternal now.
Powerful. Yes. I mean, look at what you guys are getting here. You're getting the firsthand knowledge of what was said to me. And I want it to be in a book. I want it to be everybody. I want people to do this. I want people to utilize it.
And
because I do believe.
This video is going to be on our website, so it will be shared.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Greg first and then Joey again.
Okay.
Greg?
Go for it, Greg.
Yeah. Are you there? Greg?
Yeah, I had to turn my mic on. Can you hear me?
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, his hand was up first, so why don't I let him go and then I'll take it.
He's letting you go, okay?
I just
okay.
put my hand down. I put my hand down. I had stuff from the last question. I didn't take it down.
All right, I got you. I appreciate it. I have a loaded question that
Okay.
sort of relates.
Okay. Okay.
But it's something I've been sort of thinking about as of recently, and it is the idea that we all make our own experiences. And it sounds like you with this affirmation and what you've kind of were hinting at is that's kind of the truth. But how about the whole? I have my personal experiences, but is everyone living their own world view? You know what I mean? Like some people may be experiencing a world in turmoil when they turn on the news, or other people may be making their own reality as far as the body politic or whatever else is going on. I don't know if that's true. Are we all creating the same? And I don't know if that's something you can answer. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there because I was thinking about it.
I think it's a great question. I really do. Here's Let me answer it this way for my experience. The one thing I truly felt in my near-death experience is the way that God was with me doesn't mean God didn't, I'm using God as whoever you believe to be God, okay? But it was like, you are you, I am me. We each have our own individual personalities, but we're all connected. I believe wholeheartedly we are all interconnected. But we have these cute little unique individual personalities. And the way that God was going to get a message across to me, because let's face it, my husband knows and he will laugh, I am a professional student. That is real. I am a professional student, and I believe that was the only way that God was going to get that information to me. If God tried to talk to me like I was somebody who is a mechanic, nothing wrong with mechanics who work on cars, I wouldn't have understood a darn thing. It probably would have taken me a while, but I would have gotten it. But this was the way for me to get it, to come back and share it. And I think we each take in different things. Now, you know, with all the hoopla with the COVID and the politics and all of that, I'll be honest with you. To me, it just lowers my vibration. I on any side of the spectrum, I'm into the world of love. It does not mean I don't have a bad day. I would just prefer, it's like, love. If you ever experience God unconditionally the way I did, we wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be having this dog eat dog world. We just would not. That's my feeling. That's my strong feeling. Because first of all, there's no competition. There's no other Greg. There's no other Tina. There's no other Donna. There's no other David. You know, it's you and me, and coming together and sharing our beauty, our essence of what we were given to share this together. I'm not proselytizing. I'm just sharing. This is what I truly believe. And I hope I answered the question. I believe what I was given was the best way for me to understand, so I can bring it back. And I believe anybody else here who has had a near-death experience may have it in a way that they get it for themselves. It matches them and their life, their essence, their personality. That's what I believe. Anybody else or any other questions to that? Did that answer the question? Too much?
It answered, I think, several questions, perhaps. My understanding is we really only as a whole, I guess, can create the greater reality that everyone's experiencing. We can also do with that reality to ourselves and our surroundings, I guess, as we choose.
Yes, it begins with me.
It begins with me, yeah. So by focusing on the world, what's going on in the world, nation, etc., I'm technically bringing my vibrations down with it.
Yeah, that's how it would happen to me.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm a sensitive. If I took it all on, I'd be a crying mess.
Adding a little bit to that, Greg, it's also a matter of how you process it. You know, if you want to focus on the negative aspects, you know, that's fine. You can have the exact same you can have the exact same experience and have a completely different response to it.
Okay.
It's a good point.
Rhonda, the way I deal with all the dramas out there, I find myself instinctively sending healing energy to the area of need, and that's it. I use myself as an instrument. That's all I need to do.
So would that be the same as prayer, Tina?
You
Like
call
praying?
it prayer, you call it invocation, whatever you want to call it. But intention is the key.
Intention, attention, intention, and vibration.
That's it. You got it.
So if your attention is giving it to something good, your intention comes from heart, not ego, and then that alters the vibration. That's the equation. So then you're sending forth good vibes, as they say, good vibrations to the world. I tend to do it with candle lighting. My attention is to that candle to light up the world with love. My intention is coming from love. Therefore, the vibration goes out with love. Nothing can alter that. Nothing can alter that. Other people can do their thing, but it does not alter what I'm doing. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You have a lot of power, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. A lot of people may not say that a lot or enough. I find that to be very true. We have a lot of power. Dying and coming back, I realize the power, but I use it for the highest and greatest good. of all people, including myself. That's my feeling. And you can not say a word, but your vibration can be so up, and I can stand next to you and feel it. I know you probably walked into a room and know when somebody's mad at you. You can either feel it or you don't. It's like, whoops, this doesn't feel so good, right?
Right.
Somebody else? Lori has a
Yes,
question?
Laurie.
Hi, Rhonda. Thank you for sharing your
Hi.
experience with us.
Thank you.
You mentioned in the beginning that prior to your NDE, you had some experiences of feeling or experiencing some kind of spiritual experiences. Can you elaborate a little bit?
You mean when I was on my trip or what to Europe or
Well, just
I
in general, I'd like to hear more about things that, whether it was on your trip or just in your daily activities where you might have experiencing something, because I'm starting to experience some things since my NDE, and I'm just kind of
okay.
wondering what other people have
Okay.
experienced.
What I have found, and because I'm a professional student, like I've shared with you all enough, that I have to go find out what in the world happened to me. So before the near-death experience, the trauma. So I read about when you're in the heightened state of trauma, super heightened trauma, it can actually elicit and open things up in you. Okay. Whether that is more sensitivity, reading energy, or whatever, you could pick up on things. I noticed that. So when I was in France and my friends were taking me to places I've never been to before, I was having experiences as if I had been there before. That's what they were noticing, watching me. Like being in the grotto, I went and sat down and I was talking to nobody that was there, but I was calling her Mary Magdalene. And I was thanking her. And I said, I hope I did right by you. I didn't know what I was saying. And I was weeping unprofoundly. And I said, I hope I did right by you. I remember saying that, but yet I didn't. And that's when my friend said, you may want to offer her something. And then that's when I offered my hair because I knew I was about to lose it. Well, after that experience, they walked me out. I was composing myself. I walked out. We're still on the grounds. And I don't know if you've heard of Rennes-le-Château up in France. That's where they based the movie on the show, The Da Vinci Code. So I was at that site, but again, I didn't know where I really was. I was just on this trip with my friends that took me there. And as I was walking around, and then they called this the little Garden de Marie, and where you can get a sandwich and that type of thing. I was just looking over at something, and they had these cute little quaint chairs that you can sit down and have like your picnic sandwich. And I kept looking over in this direction to this guy that they called the Gardens. And I was watching him, and they were trying to ask me who I was looking at and what I was trying to, say to this guy. I said, I wonder what he wants. And my friend Jackie and Dave were saying to me, who are you talking to? And they were comforting, by the way. They were being careful with me because they have that mentality. And they said, well, what is it that you think he's saying? Going along with it, right? Yeah, poor Rhonda, whatever Rhonda's doing. And I said, well, I don't know. I get the feeling he's trying to show me or point over. Oh, maybe he's pointing over to that building over there. And he had on this long coat and black shoes and looked like some, I don't know, wrap around him like a minister's stole. And I remember the shoes very well because they were shiny, patent shoes. And I said, well, he keeps pointing over there. I don't know what he wants, but Maybe he wants me to know that there's something to look at over there. And they're like, oh, okay, okay. So they just let me do that. I was having an experience in this location. And so we just kept walking around after lunch, and they didn't mention anything of it, Lori, with any of that. They just went along with it, comforted me and all that. Then we walk into a building, get this. Then they now were walking through this building, and then there's this man that's a wax figure sitting in a chair that was dressed identical to the man that was standing outside. And he's been dead all these years. That's Abby Saunier. And I said, well, that was the guy out there. I said, I wonder what he did. You know, I just made a fool of myself because I didn't know who he was. I said, what's he doing here? You know, who is he? I said, he was out there. No, Rhonda, he's been dead for about 50 years or so. You know, he was a priest. He was a priest that lived on the property, and it was said that he found artifacts of Jesus buried underneath of his church. He had a church up there. And so that was one experience, okay? And so again, I just went with it. Nobody pushed, no force, no resistance. They just allowed that to happen. And by the way, that was before I was ordained. I wasn't ordained. That happened in 2007, and I was ordained in 2011. So there may have been a connection between me and Saunier, Father Saunier. And what he was pointing to was his library of all his books. So maybe even to this day, I don't know what he wanted me to know from that, other than, hey, fellow sister, you know, you don't know it, but you're going to be ordained pretty soon. And, you know, welcome to the whatever. And after the near-death experience, and Mike, are you still on for this?
Why, yes, I am.
I'm going to share one more thing of what happened metaphysically to me. Right after I got out of the hospital and the near-death experience, I was nauseated, of course, and Mike got me into bed from the hospital, exhausted, wiped out. I think you all could imagine that. And just getting home, he, you know, covered me up. My hair was still falling out, and I couldn't go to sleep. It's late in the evening. I could not go to sleep, but I was nauseated. That's why I couldn't sleep. And I just tossed and turned, and Mike wasn't in there because every time he moved, I would get sick. So he tried to let me have the room to myself, and I was nauseated, and I kind of rocked myself a little bit and just talked to myself. Well, the next thing I know, I turned to my right, and there was this man from the 1800s. Top hat, 1800 clothing, sunken cheeks. I'll never forget him as long as I live. And I remember looking up at him thinking, he's coming to take me. Like the Undertaker, that was the first thing. I'm wide awake, so I'm not sleeping. And I'm like, what? I said, I don't feel good. I said, please, I don't feel good. I need to roll over. I don't want to get sick. And he was getting closer. He was leaning in over the bed and getting closer and closer to me. And I'm thinking, I know that wasn't drugs, people. I was too awake and sick to my stomach. And the next morning, when I did get up with whatever 1 or 2 hours of sleep I did have, and Mike was flushing my PICC line out of my arm, and before he went to work, and I looked right at him as straight as, you know, as could be, and matter of fact, and I said, honey, there's a man that came to the side of my bed, and he was from the 1800s. And Mike, you could share what you thought, but I did say it just like that. It was just so matter of fact.
Yeah, exactly. Just straight out. And, you know, we're trying to figure out what the heck this really was, because we're in an apartment complex 8 floors up, and there's absolutely no entrance that anybody could have gotten in. So just had to realize that this was not a regular person. And you've since identified him as Joshua, right?
He's come to me in my dreams since, like on my birthday. And I've had another person kind of say he was like a metaphysician. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. And I don't know if any of you have had any of those kinds of experiences, but that one really was interesting.
Rhonda,
And it happened.
It feels like he's one of your guides.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think so. I definitely think so. And one thing that if anybody asks me, like, what is it that you feel that he's trying to do? Guide, yes, is one, you're going to get better, Rhonda, but you need to lighten up, meaning you've had such a hard life that you really need to, the best way I can describe it is lighten up in the sense of bring joy back in your life.
Yeah.
Bring joy. But I'm thinking, but you're laying next to my bed and you're getting close, like you're ready to take me. What do you mean have joy? You know, you're scaring the heck out of me. You had the sunken face and everything, but you know, people have said he may be a doctor, and I do agree. I do agree. Definitely a guide and definitely there to protect me. And why that time period, I don't know. I can't answer. I don't know.
Rhonda, one of the themes that prevails in after people have near-death experiences is that the veil of consciousness becomes thinner. So although we know that we're never alone,
Right.
once the veil of consciousness is thinner, we can see things that other people cannot see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you, Rhonda, for that. And I have put the intention out there, as Tina's always encouraging me, all you have to do is ask, that I didn't want to see anything, but I'm open to messages and feeling spirit energy. And when you first spoke of Mother Mary in the grotto, I had a little tinkling of energy, but then when you elaborated, my whole body lit up in goosebumps and I felt Mother Mary right here. And what happens to me, I don't know if you're familiar with the Jeff Mara podcasts of people with their NDEs. When people are telling the truth about something they saw or someone they felt, I get covered in goosebumps. And when you mentioned Mother Mary, it's almost like they're standing right behind me, right over me. I don't know if you can see the goosebumps, but
wow,
that's kind of what happens to me. And I get sort of a message. And Mother Mary seems to be, she's come to another friend of mine. She is the comforter of people. And that's what I get from her. So thank you very much for sharing, because I kind of did want to see if that would happen. When people are telling the truth about their experience, I light up in goosebumps and I actually can feel the presence around me. So thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful that you've had your experiences and are here to share them with us. And I thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for allowing me. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Yes,
please. I hope it made sense of what I shared.
Yes, Rhonda, you did such a great job. I appreciate you taking the time. And does anyone else want to share anything at all? I mean, even if it's not in a question format. We have a few more minutes left. Okay, then. I look forward to next month. Our speaker is going to be wonderful. Bethany, did you want to add anything before we leave?
I just.
Oh, okay, we have two raised hands. Go ahead, Bethany, and then we allow John and Elizabeth to speak. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, John and Elizabeth. That's fine.
Okay, John. John, are you there? I guess. All right. Elizabeth, you go ahead until John comes back.
Okay. I wanted to share something with you. I am involved in a project, and once a month we go to shelter and we do the feeding. We'll cook at home, deliver the food, and every time when I go, it makes me feel so good. Even after when I would come home and I feel light, and it's like. So now I understand because my vibration is higher. So I realize now when I'm listening to you, and somehow this came to my mind because the day we go for feeding, I feel very light. I feel happy. I feel all of the good stuff. Even like people said, like, "Oh, you're a good person. You're doing this," and I feel like, "Hey, I'm doing it for myself because this make me feel so good."
Right. And it shows, it feels. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I think everybody feels the same way. If we do something good to somebody, we feel better, and it's so important. Now we're learning about this vibration, so we should concentrate. We should serve, like somebody said, serve all, love all. If we will follow this principle, the world would be much, much better, and we would be much, much healthier and happier.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, so John is having difficulties, but he wrote down a question. He wants to know if you've been to Sedona yet, Rhonda?
I have not been to Sedona, and I would love to be because I hear it's great energy, if not like France and some of the places I've been. Love to do that. I'm sure I go out there and stand, I'll feel it. I'm certain of it. And that's another thing. I'm sensitive to all the, energies in different places. There are some places that just truly make me feel like I'm floating.
Yeah.
France does, and I have a feeling Sedona would do the very same thing.
Sedona is very special, yes. Right now they're having problems with fires because it's been so dry there, but so we could send some energy their way.
Yes, definitely.
Donna, did you have your hand up? Donna? You mic.
Sorry, Rhonda. Do you remember the name of the shrine that had that grotto that you weeped at?
Yes, that's Rennes le Chateau in France.
In France, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is considered Abbe Saunier's actual church there and the grotto. Yeah, of Mary Magdalene.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you. So Bethany, did you have anything to say? Any questions?
I have tons of questions, but just right now, gratitude. I'm just very grateful and appreciative for this amazing evening we've had together.
Yes, very much so. Thank you very much, Rhonda. We'll send you the video when it's ready, okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you.
I have a question because I raised a hand, but I don't think maybe I'm invisible. I have a question. When you feel the energies now from people, especially, and probably you feel a lot of negativities, do you feel depleted in the end of the day?
I can, if I allow it to be, especially if I'm tired and run down, then I'm susceptible to feeling it.
Do you? even like going to the store, you feel good, and you go into the store, you come back and you're like wiped out, or you protect yourself somehow? Do you have any
Yeah,
protection?
Yeah, I do protect myself when I go out. But if I am truly just run down, tired, sometimes anything I do, it creeps in and it gets me like anybody else. But for the most part, I really, really work hard on keeping that up for all the good reasons. One, for myself, and then for others around me.
Yeah. Do you,
Yeah.
how would you be able to share how you protect yourself? Because that's my biggest problem, and sometimes nothing works.
Yeah, I can tell you one of the greatest things, because I taught massage therapy. If you can go out and take your shoes off and put your feet in the grass and ground yourself, allow Mother Earth, allow Gaia to truly, and this is before, during, and after. Before I did massage work, I would go out, stand in the grass, align my body, and have my feet into the ground and let it calibrate your chakra field. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you've gone out to work, let's say you worked an 8-hour day, come back, take your shoes off, go back out and let it out. Let your feet back into the ground. And that's just one nice way. Mother Earth is the best. The best.
Yeah, but that's most people probably do, which is awesome. Thank you. But is there anything that you do the prior, when you go out and you know you're gonna be in between people with all kinds of variety energies and intentions and everything? Is there anything that
my fallback is my affirmation? My mind, body, and spirit are vibrating in the highest and healthiest, happiest, most. That takes me right back to, you got it, girl.
Yeah.
Right? I can think it now, and it's like, watch out, people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, because that's big problem for me. I'm just avoiding people because I just suck energy out of me. I'm sensitive to anything.
Right. Have things with you is another thing, meaning in your car that ground you, that help you, even looking at it. If it's a crystal, having something with you. Some people call them totems. Have something special with you in your pocket. Those are things that I do. And if it's not affirmations, if I'm in the grocery store, I know I can recite that affirmation.
Right.
You know, it brings me back to having things, affirmations, and thinking of good words. Go through, play the game with yourself of the alphabet. Really, it keeps your mind occupied. B stands for.
That's actually a really good exercise. That was really good to get your mind off everything. I love it. Thank you.
It helped me. It's
I will remember that. Yes, that was really good. Good idea. Thank you so much. You know what? I work with kids. I work with students like 12 in middle school. And actually, this is a very good exercise for them to get their minds off a variety of things. So thank you.
Right.
It was very
welcome.
Very good evening.
Glad to help. Something practical, right? Giving you practical things.
Exactly. Yes.
That I use.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to share that I happen to be grateful to have the biggest private labyrinth in Connecticut on my property. And that is very helpful to me after I do sessions with clients. I just sit there and ground myself. It's very powerful.
I would agree.
Yeah.
A wonderful thing to have. Wonderful.
Thank you, Rhonda. So appreciative. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. We'll be in touch, okay?
All right. Blessings to you all.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
See y'all.
Thank you. Blessing.
Thank you.
Sharing.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You.
Someone hang on. I gotta stop the recording. Hi, John. Oh, I can't hear you. That's right.